to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Although this really could be a news item, like a Wake Up Africa. I got an email, a very concerned subscriber emailed me this morning saying that Kenya was actually accepting Afghani refugees and thousands had come in and we're not, we've offered no help to Haiti. What is going on in the country? Well, actually, I looked into it and it turns out that it's actually kind of an interesting situation. What has happened is that there's been a flooding, almost like an invasion of Pakistani refugees into the country, and they have been carted off, because there's already Pakistanis here. They've been carted off to different residences across Nairobi. There was one residence, if you're from Nairobi, you may know this place called Mountain View, where 2,000 Pakistani, transit passengers were actually dropped off in the private estate and left there. So they were chilling in the parking lots. They were chilling on the driveways, etc., etc. And it's just left a lot of people extremely uneasy. That was actually an apartment high rise, and so there was a lot of this was exposed on social media yesterday and the day before. I'm not sure when you'll be watching this, but it was exposed within 24 hours of it happening, to the point where the government, and at first people thought it was actually Afghani refugees, but then the government came out and issued a statement and they said that it's not Afghani refugees, but it's actually Pakistanis who have a transit. They're allowed free transit in Kenya on their way to Saudi Arabia for employment, etc., etc. But now the government has actually suspended the visa-free transit agreement with Pakistan. They did this on Wednesday, the 31st of September, after social media sites showed videos of crowds of Pakistani nationals crowding residential areas across the Kenyan capital of Nairobi. Now, it's not clear whether they were actually really in transit or whether they were being smuggled into the country, because some of the residents were reporting that it seemed really well orchestrated and carried out, the way they were brought to certain residences, especially, etc., etc. But now all of a sudden, apparently there was a hotel where about 40 Pakistanis had actually been registered and they were released. Not released, sorry, they registered. They were actually seized by the police. The police came for them, looked at all their, all their documentation and took them away, then brought them back, then took them away again in what looked like, an alleged kind of seizing them. Who knows if they're set to be deported or sent on their way. And they said, the majority of these travelers have originated from Pakistan and have valid transit visas to Saudi Arabia that are issued on arrival. Going forward, the government will restrict the number of foreigners transiting through the country to levels that do not pose a risk to Kenya's national interests. And the Kenya Foreign Affairs Ministry said the government of Kenya regrets that some of these passengers are taking advantage of Kenya's status with these countries with regards to quarantine regulations and just the immigration rules are, they're sneaking into the country and then staying. And they said this threatens to undermine Kenya's agreement with these countries, which are put in place to ensure continuation of business and travel operations between our countries. Till further notice, Kenya will require visas for passengers from Pakistan to Kenya, whether they're in transit or not. And I don't know what's happening in Pakistan. I haven't really been following, the story, but they say apparently there's a lot of, I don't know if there's instability. I have no clue. But what I do know is that there is a strong Asian presence in East Africa, and this is going to become a bone of serious contention because many times they have not integrated well with the locals. They've actually taken on the role of the colonizers, and they've been doing this for years, where not so much like on this level where thousands of Asians come in, but they've been bringing in their relatives who can barely speak any English and putting them as managers, as directors over locals, in order to, to bring in their people. And this is going to be something that will be highly contended. Corruption has also made this possible, where a lot of them have gotten fake residence permits, etc., etc. So, but it shows you that regardless of what agreements, greedy agreements the government makes, they can't outweigh the comfort or discomfort of the people. The people will speak up, and we've seen now the government is kind of scrambling around to try and get them to continue on their journey, get them to Saudi Arabia or get them back to Pakistan. But beloveds, many may not know that the Indians and the Pakistanis were brought over by the British in order to construct the railway, and then they were used by the British to kind of create that classist system based on color. So it was like the Mzungus felt they were up here, then they gave, all the Asians were the ones who had the shops, the kiosks, manufacturing, all this stuff, and then the Africans were below them, having to buy from them. So the Indians and the Pakistanis have always kind of been a go-between, especially like here in Kenya. But sometimes they forget themselves and they think they're more Mzungu and African, and they become worse than the colonizer. But those are definitely stories for other days. Tuko pamoja. Hello and welcome, family. How you doing? Welcome. I'm not sure if you're seeing this on the Dr. Mumbi show or the Dr. Mumbi spiritual show, but we just wanted to give you a special heads up. We've been getting, over the last 6 months, we've gotten so many emails from people asking about what they need to do about relocating to Africa. Before, it was like people needed general information, but now people are making some serious moves. So we've started a new community. We're going to actually be starting a new channel. You can find the links below. Go ahead and definitely subscribe and hit that notification button so that you find out when we launch our first video. But in case you want to see already, the pre-production stage, find us on Patreon, Karibu Nyumbani. And Karibu Nyumbani basically means welcome home. You can also find the link below. And it's everything you need to know about repatriating to Africa. And the reason we've decided to create the online platform is because people are in need of lawyers, of bankers, of realtors, etc., and advice from these people on how to relocate back to the continent. As someone who relocated 10 years ago, there's a lot of experience that I have under my belt about what the relocation process looks like. So definitely, beloveds, consider subscribing to the new channel, links down below, and join us, more importantly, on Patreon, where you can even ask questions. And by the way, if you're a creator, in terms of, if you're what they call professional, if you're some kind of, if you're a realtor, if you're a lawyer in your country and you'd like to be a country representative to help people relocate, or if you have a consultancy agency, definitely reach out, Dr. Mumbi at drmumbishow.com. You can also join our Patreon family, where we do have a special section for, local country representatives, where we can be sharing all the information, real estate projects, etc., that you have coming up with our wider family. So happy to be starting this journey with you. We wish all of you the greatest success in returning back home. Karibu Nyumbani.